So tonight's movie is going to be the new Johnny Depp film, Transcendence. And that's all I really know about it. It's a sci-fi Johnny Depp film. I've seen the trailers for it a bunch of times for like almost every movie I've seen this year so far has featured the trailer for this movie. And every time the trailer comes on, I go, oh yeah, this one. I completely forgot this existed. And I even just saw the trailer more than like 10 minutes ago. And I'm already like having trouble recalling what was in the trailer. This movie looks incredibly bland and forgettable. Just like most sci-fi movies that are made without a whole lot, that are more concept than anything else. And the concept doesn't even seem that unique. It seems like Johnny Depp has made a computer and he fuses with the computer and after he dies or something. I don't know, it looks weird. The only thing I really remember about it is that he's in it and Morgan Freeman is in it, and that's about it. If nothing else, it should be fun just for watching those two actors, but it doesn't look like it's gonna grab me. It really doesn't, and the reviews on it so far have been very, very negative. I think they are even calling it like a snooze fest, so this might not be all that fun tonight. We'll see. See after the movie. Okay, I just got done seeing Johnny Depp's latest box office flop, as it turns out. Actually, it took me a couple days to see it from when I shot the intro to now, just because with work taking up more time than usual and with everything else that was going on, I just I didn't have a chance to see it until now. And by now, it's officially been deemed a flop. I mean, even the new religious film Heaven is For Real, which I expected to flop big time, has beat this movie at the box office. And after seeing Transcendence, I can see why it has flopped. It's not good. It really isn't. Transcendence was directed by a guy named Wally Pfister. That's a very unfortunate last name. It was directed by a guy named Wally Pfister, and he used to be a cinematographer until he decided to become a director, and this is his directorial debut. Something that tends to happen when people in the film industry go from one job to director, like let's say an actor becomes a director, typically speaking, the movies that actor will direct are have better acting in it than anything else. And with a cinematographer turned director, it's kind of the same thing, where the cinematography is usually emphasized and everything else maybe not much so. That is definitely true here. Wally Pfister has a really good eye for the way that the camera should be focused and everything, because he was a cinematographer first. So the cinematography in this movie is not bad at all. It's even kind of nice. I won't say it's great by any means, but it's kind of nice. But Wally Pfister has not much eye for things like acting values or the development of a scene or even really the pacing of the movie. His main focus was cinematography, even above like visual effects and stuff like that. And because of that, his film had no real heart to it. It had no real soul to it. The film felt very, very flat. The film is about Johnny Depp plays a scientist who's trying to make a computer that's like conscious, I guess. I think that's what he's going for. A conscious computer, a computer that can think for itself. And I mean that opens up a lot of possibilities for the narrative and stuff that I could say on a philosophical level, stuff like commentaries on technology and the way we view technology, the way we view the internet, the way we view the transference of information. I mean, like Jurassic Park touched on these themes with its self-aware attitude towards itself and visual effects and taking the next step, and have we really earned the right to take the next step? A movie like Jurassic Park understood that and had that self-awareness to it. This movie didn't have that. This movie didn't really have any original thoughts to it whatsoever, the more that I think about it. I mean, it's everything that this movie did, we've seen more or less before in other movies. Be it 2001: A Space Odyssey, I, Robot, Her, which just came out, which was marvelous. Everything that this movie did has been done before. And no one in this movie felt like it felt like no one in this movie was really trying. And that's a shame, considering some of the people that we had in this movie. In fact, the only person who I really felt like was giving a lot into the performance was the lead girl, who was played by Rebecca Hall, and who I kept for some reason mistaking for Scarlett Johansson. I actually kind of feel bad because she was really trying a lot in this movie. And Johnny Depp, I love the guy. I admire the guy. I admire the guy as an actor a lot. He really wasn't trying in this movie. And I don't think that's really his fault. He wasn't given a whole lot to do. There's not a whole lot to his character in the script. Even taking out the fact that most of the time his character is a computer, he doesn't have a whole lot to do. His character isn't well developed. It's not even that it's not well developed. There's just not a character there. I mean, the same goes for Cillian Murphy and Morgan Freeman, who are both excellent actors. But in this movie, they're given like nothing to do. They're given like no character at all. So you end up with Morgan Freeman for most of the time just playing Morgan Freeman without any kind of aim or any kind of character, like punctuation, nothing. And these are guys, and Cillian Murphy is one of the best character actors of our generation. And he's given no character to work with, so it's mostly just him utilizing his marvelous American accent, by the way. You'll have to excuse me. I'm still feeling under the weather, and the sudden cold has made my nose start running, so I beg your pardon. Cillian Murphy, yeah, he's given nothing to do. There's no character. He has a marvelous American accent, which he has used in most American films that he's been in. And he uses that here, but that's all he's got to do is use his accent. For those of you who don't know, Cillian Murphy is actually an Irish actor. I'm pretty sure he's Irish. I want to look that up now. Because I know he's done a lot of Irish movies, but he's also done several British movies, and his accents are so flawless that you can hardly tell. He's like Daniel Day-Lewis, where if you didn't know he was Irish, you would have no idea by viewing his movies he was Irish. He's not like Hugh Laurie, who you can tell he's British even though he's playing an American role. But yeah, Cillian Murphy, he's another one I have a lot of respect for. that is just given nothing to do. And that's the biggest shame, because you have two great character actors, Johnny Depp and Cillian Murphy, and they've got nothing to do, and they're not really playing a character because they're given no direction and they're giving nothing to do in the script. So they're pretty much just playing just themselves, but not even really that. Morgan Freeman, who, and this is something where it's like the difference between a character actor and an actor like Morgan Freeman or James Stewart or John Wayne, anyone like any of those types of actors. A character actor will give you a great character when they have a really good script to work off of, or when they have a good director to do, or when they have good direction from their director to utilize. They can make some great characters, and they usually even make great characters on their own. But when you have nothing in the script giving you any kind of character, and your director isn't really giving you anything, then you have people like Morgan Freeman who can just by playing themselves be interesting on their own. So Morgan Freeman was interesting in this movie, but only because he's Morgan Freeman. Johnny Depp, not really interesting. Cillian Murphy, not really interesting. They just had nothing to do. And it's not like the acting in this movie is god awful. Like I said, Rebecca Hall is really trying, and she's actually doing really well for the most part. So it's not like the acting in this movie is terrible. It's just the actors have little to nothing to do. Again, besides Rebecca Hall, who's the only actress in this movie who has an emotional depth to play with. And even then, she can't use as much as I would have liked to have seen. And besides that, there's not even much to talk about in this movie because there's not a whole lot going on for a lot of the time. It's a 2-hour movie, and it felt like it was 2 hours, but it didn't have the content to fill up a 2-hour movie. I remember at the halfway point, a little bit more than an hour into it, I looked at my watch and I realized that we were an hour into the movie, and it felt like the movie had been going on for a while. But I had no idea where in the development of the story we were. I didn't know if we were still in the first act, if we had gone on to the second act, if they were developing into, like, I couldn't tell what it was all leading up to. Not in, like, a good way, like, it was keeping me in suspense. Like, I didn't even know, like, what the point was. I didn't know what we were going to find out as an audience. Like, there's something that, that writers, talk about when they are, being trained to become a writer, like in school, and it's called the major dramatic question. It's also used in theater a lot. The major dramatic question is the question that the audience is invited to ask, so that's what's keeping them going throughout the whole movie. Like a good example is the major dramatic question of Star Wars is, are they going to be able to stop the Empire? The major dramatic question of The Godfather would be, is Michael Corleone going to become part of the mafia, part of the mob? That's what the major dramatic question is. This movie didn't really have one. Besides the first 5 minutes of the movie, we are shown that the internet and technology have been wiped out. And the closest thing we ever get to a major dramatic question in the movie is, how did that happen? And that's not really enough to keep us motivated to keep watching, because we are looking for the end result that we already know what the end result is going into it. And without good characters to keep us interested and invested, and without a good plot to keep us interested and invested, and without a story even, we're looking at the question that we're looking for the answer to a question that we don't want to know how the question got asked in the first place. This is all really existential. I just realized this. Which makes sense considering the title of the movie is Transcendence, but it's not making me ask the questions that shouldn't be making me ask. I mean, it's not like The Matrix or Blade Runner, which are sci-fi movies that make you ask really thought-provoking, deep, analytical, philosophical questions and musings about the perceptions of reality and who we are as a person. It doesn't do that. And it should, because that's what the freaking premise of the movie was. So, as a result, this movie feels like a giant waste of time. Because there's nothing ever really being accomplished. It's just flat, dull storytelling from beginning to end with some nice cinematography, not even great cinematography, just nice cinematography throughout. It's got some sense of style, but not much. Most of the acting is underplayed. The tone is monotone. The scenes don't quite feel developed, like as scenes. Like it doesn't feel like the scenes have a beginning, middle, and end for the most part. And it's not even bad enough that I was angry. It's not even bad enough to be fun bad, like Battlefield Earth. It's not that kind of bad. It's just, and it's not even like, I mean, it is stupid because there's like nothing in this movie that really makes a whole lot of logistical sense, but there's not even enough of that going on that's like in your face the whole time that you can enjoy laughing at or mocking. So this movie is just underthought, not a lot of execution, and I gotta say that I think the biggest problem of this movie was Wally Pfister is not a competent director. And I'm sorry to say that, because I don't like saying things like that, like saying like a director that I haven't seen any of his other work in, and I don't know his background other than he's a cinematographer. I don't like saying that like he's the problem and he's not good, but he's just putting nothing on the table except for some sense of visual pleasantness. And that's not enough to drive a movie. So Transcendence is not good. It's really bad. Honestly, it's one of the worst movies I've seen this year. And this is a year that's included movies like Endless Love and Pompeii and A Haunted House 2. I had more fun with A Haunted House 2 than I did with this movie. I had more fun with Pompeii, and I hated Pompeii, than I did with this movie. Because in a movie like Pompeii, which I hated it, I hated it. But because I was actively hating it, it made me think about what I was missing and what I would like to see other movies do. This movie doesn't do that because I've seen other movies do everything that this movie does better. So I might have to say it could be the worst movie I've seen so far this year. Again, a year that's including A Haunted House 2. It's difficult to sit through. It's not engaging your intelligence in a way that it thinks it is and in a way that it should be. It's not an emotional experience like a movie like Her was. So it's got nothing. It's bringing nothing at all to the table. And that's Transcendence. There's probably a lot more that I could say about it, but why waste my time talking about it more when I feel like it wasted my time? So, do not see Transcendence. This is the this is the first movie that I've seen all year where it's like, even with the other really bad movies I've seen so far this year, I can say, well, if you're a fan of this type of movie, you can go see it. Or if you're a fan of, bad movies, you can go see it. There is no reason to see Transcendence because, again, it's bringing nothing to the table. The only good thing that I can say about it is that I know a few days from now, I'm gonna pretty much have forgotten everything about this movie. And that's a shame. That's kind of a shame. So, Transcendence, skip it. Have a good time at the movies besides.